What's up, everybody, and welcome back to TarHeelIllustrated.com for another edition of our daily drop podcast series. I'm Jacob Turner. He's our very own publisher. Andrew Jones and AJ, we're here for UNC football-related drop today, and we're here to kind of pose the question and discuss the question: has the Bill Belichick, Jordon, Hudson publicity been good or bad for UNC? Or throw a third option there, maybe a little bit of both. That's what we're going to discuss here. And just to add get a context about why we decided to come on here and talk about this. We've hit on this topic before. I know you've done some solo drops about kind of the relationship and kind of the attention it's been getting and when does it become a football thing. But the reason we wanted to have this discussion for a daily drop topic was WRAL's Brian Murphy reported a couple weeks ago, does really good work, that he had an interview with UNC Chancellor Lee Roberts. You can see the video online. And essentially he asked him a bunch of questions. But one thing he asked him was like, hey, are you at all surprised about the kind of attention that the football program's been getting over the last couple months? I think that was kind of how it was posed. And what Lee Roberts essentially ended up saying was, we kind of hired Bill Belichick to come in here and, turn the program around and bring this, attention to the football program that was kind of lacking before. But one of the direct quotes he kind of ended that answer with was, to quote him, "We're delighted about all the attention being paid to Carolina football." And I think on the surface, it's an interesting quote, because when you look at the attention that Carolina's been getting, it's not necessarily that the football program has been getting attention. It's that the head coach and his girlfriend have been getting the attention. I think that's been kind of the major talking point amongst the program. It's not like we've got all these national people and all these national ESPN shows and everything sitting here on segments for 30 minutes talking about, who's going to start at left guard for North Carolina, or who's going to be the starting quarterback for North Carolina. That's not the topic that's being discussed, AJ. It's, hey, what's kind of going on here with Bill Belichick and Jordon Hudson, that weird, CBS, whatever it was, interview about the book he released and how that went down. It's attention for the program. But I think the question that we're kind of posing, and maybe fans are sitting there wondering, is like, is it the type of attention maybe A, you want, or B, that you maybe thought you signed up for it? I think that's the topic to explore a little bit here. So I'll ask you, AJ, when you heard, let me ask you this first. Were you surprised by Lee Roberts' answer? Because I personally was not. It's exactly what I expected him to say.
Well, delighted is an interesting word. Mm-hmm. Oh, we appreciate the attention. The attention is not a bad thing, especially if he wins games. Delighted, yeah,
it's a strong word.
They wanted attention. And I actually think where he's coming from isn't just, oh, this is just great because of the stuff that people are talking about. Let's remember what the ACC is doing now with unequal revenue sharing. Mm-hmm. Viewership matters. Carolina couldn't have launched into some of this craziness at a better time, because the Tar Heels are going to have a standalone game with TCU to kick off the season. And while it's going to get really good ratings, it's going to get even better ratings because of the TMZ stuff going on.
Absolutely.
It's going to draw a lot. The curiosity eyeballs are going to be there for a while. And if they win, they're going to be a massive story.
Yeah.
Similar to Dion in Colorado. Whoever would have made Colorado must-see TV 5 years ago?
Exactly.
But they are now. Carolina is somewhat different reasons, but a lot of people were going to pay attention to Belichick anyway, especially if he wins. Now, if they lose, they struggle, Jordan's going to become a bigger story because people are going to fault her for it. Fair or not. That's not our deal here. We only touch this when it's related to football. And because Lee Roberts gave Brian Murphy that statement, and by the way, if you don't follow Brian Murphy on Twitter, shame on you. He is a phenomenal reporter. He's someone whose work I respect as much as anybody in our area, and he hits on a lot of things that we don't have time to go after because of all the different things that we are tasked with. So he's really good at stuff like this. He was down in Amelia Island at the ACC meetings, got some good stuff down there. I actually talked to Belichick a little bit. So follow him. He's got a lot of good content that's really important moving forward when a lot of the reporting now isn't just what happens on the fields and courts of play.
Absolutely.
So going back to the topic here, because the chancellor said what he said, we have to talk about it in some way, and we certainly want to know what other people think. I actually think it is a good thing because people are talking North Carolina football. Now, if you listen to the national non-sports media, 80% of them never even mentioned North Carolina. One guy, I think on CNN, still thought Belichick was in the NFL. I mean, those clowns don't pay attention to sports guys. But in the sports sphere, and I've looked at a lot of commentary threads on various different platforms because I'm curious how people are relating this to UNC football. The UNC factor comes up a ton. Some people say, look, it doesn't matter as long as he wins. The next guy might say it's UNC football. He's never going to win. Then the next guy might say, this is the dude to get it turned around. No one will care. The next guy said he went to Carolina because no one else will hire him. I mean, there's all kinds of thoughts and opinions being tossed out there, but they're about North Carolina football in some capacity. So when the Tar Heels take the field on Labor Day night, a ton of people are going to be watching. And if they win, they're going to watch them again the following week. And they got a game against Central Florida. There's a reason they're on some isolated games to begin with. A Friday night Syracuse, a Thursday night at Cal, the TCU game. They're in some isolated situations already. Now it's going to be magnified, the interest, because people are going to be watching games to see if she's on the sidelines. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't think this story is going away. And certainly as long as Pablo Torre keeps yapping about it, it's not going away. I'm not going to comment on other media. But from a football standpoint, it's worth talking about here. And I think we've done a good job ignoring it. I think the other media that covers Carolina on a regular basis has done a really good job ignoring it. Mm-hmm. Because it's only matters to us if it's a football story. But yes, the ratings are going to show, especially if they're good. The ratings are going to prove that this helps. So Carolina is going to position itself down the road to be at the top upper tier of the unequal revenue sharing in the ACC.
Yeah. My stance on the Belichick thing is, I've gotten to a point where I'm kind of tired of like discussing if someone's like a good hire or not. I've said since day one with Belichick, it's like, if he wins football games, he's a good hire. If he doesn't win football games, he's a bad hire. Exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, they brought him in to win football games. They didn't bring him in so that TMZ would talk about him and his girlfriend on every episode.
They didn't bring him in to make Pablo Torre famous in the Carolinas.
Yeah, or have him, saying that he, things that aren't true. You know what I mean? So that's my overall perspective has not been changed by this whole Jordon Hudson, Bill Belichick thing. Now I look at it both ways. I think if you were to ask me the question we've posed today, is it good, bad, or both? I think it's a little bit of both. I think in an ideal world, you don't have TMZ and Paulo Torre and all these national outlets kind of discussing the drama around their emails and relationships and the interview I mentioned about his book that was just not a good look for a number of reasons, especially with it just kind of piled on to the negative attention that's been surrounding the relationship to begin with. But when the season comes around and Bill Belichick, if he wins football games, then I think that story will kind of fade into the background and the talking point will be, oh my God, look what Bill Belichick's doing at North Carolina. Now, if he comes in and they struggle and they don't win football games, which I think is, let me just say this too. I think that's somewhat okay in year one. I mean, I don't think you can just turn the ship around like that, in my opinion. But if he comes in and struggles and is not winning football games, then you best believe from a national media perspective, I'm not saying us or the people who actually cover this team like we do, I think the national media attention, it'll be a stick to kind of beat them with because it's already something that
someone blame her.
Yeah, well, because I think the unfortunate part about it, why I think the word delighted is a little bit of a strong word, is I think the unfortunate thing is like it's almost turned into like the story in itself is like a unserious, like it's almost like an LOL story is what I call it. Like the whole thing is just it's almost become like I'm trying to think of the right word to use here. It's almost become kind of a comical story a little bit because of how much it's in the media, because of what's coming out about, I'm not saying, again, these have been substantiated or proven to be true, but here's some of the stories that have come out. She has to be included on all emails. That's been blown up into this thing that people kind of laugh about.
Which is not accurate.
No, exactly.
It's not accurate.
Yeah. And then the whole, the CBS morning interview they did about his book, and then the way it kind of went down with her butting in. I mean, it's something that people are kind of watching and kind of laughing about. And that part about it, I think, is not what you necessarily wanted. But I guess, is it good from a chancellor's perspective that a lot of people are talking in some way, shape, or form about your football program? Yeah, maybe, I guess. You know what I mean? It's kind of a tough one to answer, but at the end of the day, like I said, if he wins football games when the season starts, who cares? If he doesn't, it's just going to be something that's going to be brought up. So
if he wins football games early, they're going to be elevated fast.
Exactly.
So I think that's partly what Lee Roberts is talking about. They will have a different launching point in their season and perception than anybody else. I think a lot of people are going to look to see what's wrong. They're going to look for things that he misses, a mistake he may make during the course of a game that he never made with the Patriots. They're going to look for reasons to say, aha, see, that's the Jordon factor. But if they don't find those, then they're going to flip it like, oh, there's the legend who won 6 Super Bowls. There's the guy who won 8 Super Bowls because he was a coordinator. There's the guy that was LT's first coach in college. And they're going to do a lot about building up some of the Carolinas past, and they're going to thrust in your face all those rings and everything else. They're going to do that, and I think they're wise to do that because they can do it. Mm-hmm. Who else can do that? They can do it. So I do think that very quickly, if Carolina looks good against TCU, people are going to, the whole next day, all the national talk shows, sports talk shows, that's all they're going to talk about.
Yeah.
They're going to talk about him. She's not as much of a deal. Look at, but man, this guy they've got this dude coaching in the ACC now at North Carolina. Man alive, they look good last night. They're going to be the biggest story. So, of course, I think it's a worthwhile risk for North Carolina. Mac got them a lot of exposure. Everybody in the national media likes Mac, but it ran its course, which Mac admitted to recently.
Yeah.
Now, they've tried this before. They tried it with Butch Davis. We saw what happened there. They tried it with Mac again. It's not like North Carolina has finally taken its first foray into let's try to make football work. The difference now is that the hiring is matched by the funding, and it's matched by the carpet that's rolled out. Basically, do what you got to do to win, man. Mm-hmm. And if it means that Jordon Hudson is getting some publicity, guess what? While all this stuff is going on and people are saying, oh, this is terrible, what an S show and all that kind of stuff, they're getting this portal commit, they're getting that portal commit, they're getting this high school commit, they're getting that high school commit. The operation of football hadn't been affected at all. I know for a fact it has not been affected at all. And that's what matters to us. So people can talk about whatever they want, but within the walls of the Keenum Football Center and how they do business, they're functioning, and they're functioning pretty well. They still have some stuff to do. They still need more defensive linemen, and I think they would be wise to have another quarterback, but that's that. Otherwise, I think they're in pretty good shape, and they've done business at a fairly high level here, especially look at the guys who have committed either as transfers or high school players since that CBS interview. Those kids don't give a crap. If anything, it's raised awareness even more that Belichick is at North Carolina and he's getting all these dudes from California and he's got all these Super Bowls. And he's one guy, maybe some spin is he's one guy that can handle a distraction because he's the most focused guy on the planet kind of deal. We'll see. But I think so far it's a sideshow. To a lot of people that fixate on it, they couldn't tell you who's on the roster. Couldn't tell you anybody who's on the roster. They don't know. They have no clue. They don't know who Marcus Allen is. They don't know who Davion Goss is. They don't know who Austin Blasky is. They don't know any of that stuff. Who cares what they say?
Half of them don't even know where UNC is. Probably they don't know what.
If they do, it's because of basketball. They do it because of basketball. Look, there are 52 scholarship players on last year's team that are no longer in the program. There's so much newness that whatever you think is North Carolina football, erase that from your memory. Erase that from your thought process, rather, not your memory, because it's all new, fresh, and moving forward. Does it work? We'll find out. We don't know. But from the coaching staff to the roster turnover, that this program has never seen roster turnover like this before, to the fact that there is a sideshow that intrigues a lot of people who otherwise wouldn't give a rat's you-know-what about North Carolina football. I think it's all fine. I really do. Because in the end, like you keep saying, you've been saying this for 2 months. If they win, none of this matters.
Yeah, 100%. And also, the last thing I'll say about it, I do think Carolina and Bill Belichick needs to get out of its own way a little bit. And what I mean by that is, too, I'm more so talking about the future, not as much right now. If they have to know that if Jordan Hudson's on the sideline of the TCU game, there will be cameras showing her. And if she's on the sideline of a football game, like we saw in the practice with a whistle in her hand twirling it, you're just asking for what Carolina's kind of got. You have to play a little bit smart and say, look, I mean, Sally Brown is involved with anybody, Mac Brown's wife, that I've seen, and I'm sure you've seen, is involved with anybody behind the scenes as she was with the football program. But she wasn't on the sideline. She wasn't, walking around during open practices with Mac Brown tugging on his pant line with.
It was after games.
Yeah, again, walk out with Mac, but again, she wasn't maybe as outward facing as we've seen Jordan Hudson be at times, because we've seen her at practices.
Well, I can tell you this.
Carolina, you got to get out of your own way with that, because if you don't, it's just going to become more of a talking point, because it's that low hanging fruit that is already just fascinating everybody around the country.
Well, she probably won't be on the field, because I don't think she will. I've heard from several people that she wants a lot of funding for the coaches' wives area. So whatever that means. I mean, there's no luxury suites technically in Kenan Stadium, which, by the way, they need. If Bill Belichick is successful, and if he says, I'm going to be here for the 5 years of the contract, they'll build those luxury suites. Trust me. We'll finally get a new press box. Nobody cares about that except
maybe they can put the wives in those temporary suites they built last year. I mean, put them over there.
Oh, those things. Oh, I forgot about those.
You remember those things? Yeah, that was Carolina football last year. That's where we got
that was who I'm not going to name them. And the media said, well, that's Mac's undoing.
Yeah, it was not great.
That in the stands now. You didn't have that when he started. You have it now in year 6 or whatever. So
you're probably not trending in the greatest of directions. Yeah.
So she wants money for some of that other stuff. That's what I was told. I can't verify.
And that's fine as long as the coach.
By the way, let me clarify, because I'm very cautious about a lot of things I say, as you know. I'm only saying that because I don't think that's important.
No.
I don't think she'll be on the field during the games. This is game time, man. I've never seen a wife on the field after a game. Now, before, yes. After, yes. But during, rather, no, never seen it.
Yeah, and again, it depends. You can be on the sidelines just kind of walking around and socializing. That's totally fine. That's expected. Now, do I think some national media will still kind of fixate on that a little bit? Yeah, but if she's just on the field before and after a game, who cares? That's a non-story at some point. But it all comes back to this, AJ. Like I've said, really since the minute Bill Belichick got hired, and I even knew what his girlfriend's name was. Bill Belichick is going to be. Yeah, that's true. She was
okay. Because hold on. Let's be fair here. Everybody was interested if she was going to be there. Number one. Mm-hmm. And number two, when she walked in, she was wearing a lot of white. That got a lot of chatter going. Yeah. But that was the extent of it. Mm-hmm. Because some of us, like we were talking with Bubba afterward, she never came up.
Wasn't as much of a story.
She was in the hallway out by the elevator with Bill and a few other people, and we were waiting to go in this room and go talk to Bubba, and she's standing right there, and everybody, there's the curiosity thing, and it's there in your line of vision, and then it's gone, and you move on. Mm-hmm. We had an hour with Bubba, and she never came up. Then now, if we were to have an hour of Bubba now, she would come up. Mm-hmm. because distraction, all the stuff that's been reported that we have debunked a lot of it, like being banned from the Keenan Football Center. I mean, we've talked to people who have seen her in the football center, who saw her during that period in which somebody in the media was adamant saying that she was banned from the facility at that time. We talked to people who saw her in the facility at that time. So plus she's not banned now. So
yeah, I do think some of the reporting has been absolutely ridiculous, and is why it's turned into this like TMZ thing that it's been, because a lot of the stuff being reported has just been stuff that's either over sensationalized or just flat out not true in the first place. So that's what happens. That's why things like this blow up, because people are saying, because like you post a headline that she's banned from the football facility. Like that is oh, wow. Like I don't know many, not even his wife to begin with, but there's not a lot of, that's like a story you never hear. I've never heard another college coach's wife or girlfriend being banned from a football center. You know what I mean?
Now, there was
I'm sure it's happened before, but
the head coach at Oregon about 10 years ago, his wife was banned from the press box.
But even that's his wife.
For a game, she was suspended for a game or something like that. But look, and that whole thing, I had that debunked with multiple sources as good as you can get by 8:45 in the morning. And then we ran our story and okay. And by the way, just in fairness too, this is the third podcast that I have been involved in that we've recorded that has talked about the Jordon Hudson situation in some capacity. It's the second one we've run. One we ended up not running because it was sort of a just in case, right? So this is the second one. We're not talking the TMZ aspect of it. We're talking the football aspect of it. And I'm going to tell you right now, wait till you see the TV ratings. And if this team is good, you're going to get massive, massive ratings. And CFP is going to want them because it's a business. It's a TV show.
Winning solves everything, man.
College sports is a TV show.
Yeah.
That's all it is, man.
Yeah, and AJ, if Bill Belichick comes in and goes 10-2 next season, Carolina fans, and I'm not saying the national media still might not be trying to talk about Bill Belichick's girlfriend every 15 minutes. You can't control that, but the Carolina fan base is not going.
The non-sports media will, because that's all they know. That's all they care about.
Yeah, but again, when the season starts,
found it amazing that every one of these little roundtable talk shows on CNN, on Fox, on MSNBC, and these other things, and radio shows, they're all talking about it. Like, did they really not have anything else to talk about? It was wild. And most of them never mentioned North Carolina.
And I think
in the sports realm, I'll say it again, in the sports realm, the sports sphere, we talked about North Carolina, and everything was from, let the guy do it. It's his personal life. Who cares? This guy could win big at North Carolina. It's an S show and everything in between. And all the truly, and that's what you get in the offseason, a silly season for college football. When they start playing, none of that stuff will matter.
No. And again, I think it's just one thing I wanted to bring up to you real quick to get your opinion on it is I was thinking about this a couple of weeks ago, but I grew up in the Patriots era, and you were a part of it as well. Patriots just won everything. And I wasn't a massive NFL guy, but I was somebody who didn't have like a team necessarily in the NFL. I didn't really like the Patriots, and I didn't like Bill Belichick, and I didn't like Tom Brady because every year it was just the same old, they win. And, it's like anything when you're a team as successful as they were, you either kind of loved or hated. You know what I mean? So I wonder how much of that has played a factor in this story blowing up, because Bill Belichick's kind of in some ways this figure that even if you didn't really consciously know it or not, as the success was going on with the Patriots, there's a lot of people who didn't like him simply because they were the team. They were dominating in the NFL. And if you like any other NFL team, you're probably not going to be a massive fan of Bill Belichick. And also
he's a curmudgeon.
Yeah, exactly. He's not somebody who's never been super friendly or open with the media. And then on top of it, you've got him coming to North Carolina, fine. But it's the fact that the age difference and kind of what comes along with that. I almost think it's like this perfect storm of like, a lot of people don't like him to begin with. A lot of people don't like him in the media because maybe how they were treated by him or how shut down and kind of, like you said, curmudgeon he has been with the media, which is 100% his prerogative. I can't control what he does. I wish he was more open with us, but who knows? Maybe that changes at some point. I think it's almost like this perfect storm of a situation where, because of who he is, because of what he's accomplished in the past, and because of the difference in age between there, I think it was just this perfect storm of something that it almost felt like was always going to be talked about. But I think it was increased and made more of a story because you've got these social media clips of her with a whistle at practice, in open practice, and you've got these fake other stories that are coming out that aren't really true, but are being broadcasted to the world like they are true. It just felt like this perfect storm that I don't want to say it was inevitable that it was going to happen like this, but looking back, I don't know if I should be that surprised that it's become this big of a topic. I don't know. That's my opinion on it.
Who else got national, had clips of their practice during the spring shown nationally?
Exactly.
That's where Lee Roberts is coming from as well. To me, it's only a lose-lose if he doesn't win and she does something really crazy during a game or something.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's how I feel.
That's the only way it's a lose-lose. I understand a lot of people are like, oh, it's just a bad look and it's not the Carolina way. And I get all that stuff, but I'm not concerned about that. The chancellor is delighted. That's what we're addressing. Well, why is he delighted? Well, we just gave you a bunch of reasons why.
Yeah. Again, it's kind of like some people say any attention is kind of good attention. I think
they need the ratings. We're at a time where a lot of schools, and this will be a different conversation for a different topic, but this is part of this, is that you got to schedule really well so you play games that a lot of people watch so you can get the right revenue. You may end up playing losable games and hurting your CFP chances, but you've got to stay relevant with the TV numbers in the ACC. You've got to avoid the ACC network. You've got to be on ESPN and all the major networks and get games. And Carolina's got a built-in one each of these next 2 seasons to kick off the year. Next year, TCU in the week 0. A lot of people watched Nebraska and Northwestern a couple of years ago. And that's all they talked about. So they're going to get a ton of eyeballs, and that's what's important now, because eyeballs equal cash register, and that's just as important as wins now.
100%, man.
And if they do both, then Carolina could very well be in a phenomenal situation financially if a lot of these stars align properly.
Yeah. You're all right. And again,
including the gambling money, which, by the way, Brian Murphy wrote about too. You should go back and see what he wrote about with the gambling money that North Carolina, NC State can get too. I would go back and go look at a lot of stuff Brian reported in the last 5 weeks. It's been really good stuff.
Yeah, he's doing really
Carolina
good.
Could be sitting in a really good financial situation. So this whole need to go to the SEC may not entirely be a need if stars align properly.
Yeah, for sure. So going to be fascinating to see how all that kind of stuff plays out and how this season plays out with Carolina football. Yeah, but just win football games and no one cares. At least no one that matters cares.
Last thing, just stay with us. Stay with our different platforms on Twitter, Facebook here. We may have things to announce at some point.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll just kind of keep it at that. We may, we're working on some things. As I said, I think on the other podcast, we got stuff on the kettle. Mm-hmm. Is that the right term to use, or am I missing?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I know it makes sense to me. I don't know if that's the.
Yeah, there's just some stuff going on, and I never said I was leaving the business. Some people think I retired. Mm-hmm. I had to step back for more life balance.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
That's I want to be able to watch my daughter grow up. I don't want to die because I work 364 days a year. So.
Yeah,
but there's some stuff going on. There might have an announcement. So stay with us.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be here. We're not terminating this channel. Stay with us.
Some things are brewing. I think that's what you're trying to say there. Things are brewing.
Yeah, multiple things. I've got to have more conversations before I narrow some stuff down. So.
Exactly. Yeah. Just again, keep it locked to all our social media channels. Links are below, and obviously subscribe to this YouTube channel as well. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell too, and get involved in the comments. Let us know what you think about this situation. Are you tired of hearing about this Bill Belichick, Jordon Hudson relationship thing? I know I'm tired of it.
I'm tired of it.
I was tired.
We begrudgingly did this. We didn't
really want to do this topic, but we had to. Yeah, with Lee Roberts saying what he said, and there being a video interview, and a 4 minute video interview that Brian Murphy did.
We had to do it.
We had to talk about it in some way, shape, or form.
I vow not to do it again, maybe ever, unless it becomes a football-related story. And let's hope
I will die a very happy man if I never have to say Jordon Hudson's name ever again on a Carolina podcast. If I do, so be it. But if I don't, I'm at peace with that.
And that's nothing against her. It's just that. I mean, how many times do we do a Sally Brown podcast?
Never. We brought her up before, but
how many times do we talk about Hubert's wife?
I don't even think we've ever said her name on a podcast. Maybe once.
I mean, when I covered Duke I don't think I ever wrote anything about Mickey Krzyzewski, and she was a prominent part of that program.
Yeah, we'd write a little bit about Roy's wife just because he'd come out in a press conference and call her Wicked Wanda and stuff like that.
Yeah. Wicked Wanda. He has many rebounds as Wicked Wanda.
We didn't come out and have to address stories about Wicked Wanda being locked out of the Dean Smith Center. So,
I mean, even with Sally, it's whatever Max said. Although sometimes I wonder if our buddy Adam Smith ever wrote an article about how Sally would put extra mayonnaise on the turkey sandwich when Mac had leftovers after Thanksgiving.
I do like that play, by the way. You're a big mayo guy too. I know you're a big mayo guy.
Yeah, well, and Mac likes it too.
I'm a big mayo guy. Wonder if he was a Dukes or a Hellman's guy. Probably a Dukes, right? He was in that bowl game. Maybe he didn't like Dukes because they couldn't win that bowl game. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe not.
I'm a Hellman's guy.
I'm a Hellman's guy too. We might get a visual.
You're not from the. I am. I grew up south of Mason-Dixon line, but I'm a Hellman's guy.
We're gonna get. There will be a comment below about.
Pilloried.
I unsubscribed because you like Hellman's over Dukes.
I know. It's wild how people are territorial about the damn mayonnaise.
I put tweets out before because like having jokes with the bowl game and everything. And like I'm a Hellman's guy. People are like, how dare you?
I'm gonna do this is bad for business. I'm Hellman's, not Dukes, and I don't like sweet tea. I can't stand tea.
I do now.
If I was on a deserted island and all I had was ocean water and sweet tea, I'd boil the ocean water for a long time and then take my chances.
Everybody has full permission to get on AJ for not being a sweet tea guy because I'm a sweet tea guy. Let him know in the comments.
Any form of tea is just brutal.
Unbelievable. I don't like unsweetened tea. I ain't got no time for that. And I don't need it to be like taste like syrup, but I do like some sweet tea. So I will throw that out there.
Cool.
Rip AJ in the comments for not liking sweet tea. If we get to yeah.
Now all I have to do is say that I like a lot of sauce on my barbecue, and I'll really burn myself on that.
AJ, I'm sitting here like AJ, I'm sitting here like if we get to 25,000 subscribers by a certain time, AJ's got to chug a cup of Bojangles sweet tea. I think on camera.
Chug.
Yeah, drink on camera. You got to finish it in the podcast. Got to be done.
I can't do it. I won't be able to do it. I would do. We get to 30,000.
There we go.
I'll drink like 3 ounces, but I have to do it at the end. Otherwise, I won't.
Because you're gonna have to go throw up afterwards.
Curling like a 17-year-old after a. I probably shouldn't say 17, 18-year-old after one of those clear alcohol parties.
Yeah, some Everclear. Yeah,
Everclear party. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. If we get to 30K in a reasonable amount of time, we'll make AJ drink some kind of sweet tea on this podcast. I think people would absolutely love that content.
Sweet tea, and what was the other thing I said I didn't like?
Oh, you didn't like mayonnaise, Duke's mayo. We didn't like it, but you're a Hellman's guy.
I will eat a Duke's mayonnaise turkey and cheese sandwich with sweet tea. Wash it down with sweet tea right here on the air.
That's fantastic. Get us to 30K immediately.
30K, I'll do that. Okay, seriously, I'll do it. 30K, I'll do it.
Please get us to 30K. Please get us to 30K.
And then I'll need a week off to recover.
Yeah, you'll be off there.
My body will be on. My body will be in total turmoil.
That's absolutely fantastic.
I'll have Kim and Ellie go to Asheville or something for like 3 days.
Yeah, while you recover from drinking too much sweet tea and eating too much mayonnaise at the same time. God, I didn't think this podcast would end with mayonnaise and sweet tea, but that's the fun of the off season, AJ. Who cares?
I do have 2 Duke's mayonnaise things right there because I
got a couple from the game a few years ago, and I just used them up, man. I mean, I will eat Duke's mayo, but I'm buying Hellman's. That's just where I'm at.
Right there.
I mean, I had them same jars.
You can't even do that right. There we go.
I stole about 6 from that game, AJ, and gave them to some family and everything because they were just sitting around after the game. I mean, nobody took half of them. I guess they're Hellman's got people that they don't like mayonnaise, but yeah, like I said, I'll eat Duke's, but I'm buying Hellman's. Nothing. I'll eat it, but I'm a Hellman's guy at heart. So I'm glad to know you are too, AJ. Let's get out of here. Got to stop talking about mayonnaise on a podcast. Appreciate you guys watching.
This went longer than we expected again.
Always does. We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks.